It's better.
But these hours well, to these streets awake, running from the shadows, dodging every snake. 6-pack of beer, stashed in the park. Evade the blue lights, moving in the dark. Sirens blaring out my brew. K9 sniffing, got no clue.
I'll tell you what, that ain't bad for AI.
That's pretty doggone good.
Seeing as it took you about 38 seconds to make that whole song. And that's how long it took you to Google
Yes.
K9 intro song. And I don't know.
Well, and I also made like 10 different versions. You know, so they were like hard rock version
and we don't even know if we're stuck on that one right now.
No, we can always change
it. AI is always improving.
It's only going to get better for sure.
So here we are on official episode 2.
Official episode 2.
We tried. This is 2.2. Really, we tried episode 2
last week,
and it did not. We had technical difficulties.
Set us back a little.
Episode was awesome,
so we apologize. We were planning on having another one. We had already
all-star guest.
Oh man,
we're gonna have to get him back.
We're gonna get him back, and it's gonna be good. That was very educational. You know, so we're just gonna tease that. We're not really. We shouldn't tell them.
No, we're just going to say if you suffer from traumatic brain injuries,
yes,
you're going to like that episode.
Severe knee pain.
Severe knee pain. If you are a narcotics dog handler.
That's a detection narcotic.
Right.
Dog guy.
Marine Corps veteran,
bomb tech.
Yeah. You know kind of jack of all trades.
An absolute guru.
And we should have had him do the editing. We wouldn't have lost that episode.
No. Well, he was a Marine.
That's take that part back. Okay. So this is official episode 2. Let's talk about as you're drinking that delicious libation over there, the good folks at Shinerbach and Shiner, Texas were so kind.
After they saw that first episode,
they
were like, man,
that first episode,
guys,
let's send them alcohol and they'll shout it out and drink it and say, it's delicious.
Oh, it really is. You know, all right, so I have a cousin. He lived in Texas for most of his life, and right before I went to the police academy, like 2 weeks before I went to the police academy, my girlfriend / fiance, future wife, and we went to visit down in Dallas and Plano, and he had Shiner Bock. And that was my first introduction to Shiner Bock. So, I mean, I'm all in. It's delicious.
It's delicious.
I highly recommend it to all of our millions of fans.
Yeah, I tell you what, and the fact that they would send this to us,
I know,
with only one episode, unsolicited.
It's amazing.
Great people.
We love shout out Shiner. I mean, you guys knocked it out of the box.
Shout out Shiner. Shiner, we're lying. I actually bought this for like $11.99 at the local grocery store, I think. Okay. But this could have been free.
It could have been.
Yeah.
And hopefully
how do we reach them? But after this episode drops and I hashtag Shinerbach, dude, I guarantee you a fucking truck's going to pull up in the studio lot and unload a pallet of this stuff.
Wait. You know what?
And you know what?
We'll take that on the golf course from now on.
Yes. I'll take it everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh my God. Golf course, strip club. It's going. So,
man.
What do you want to talk about, Dave?
So, I was reviewing our first episode.
Okay. All right.
And we didn't really introduce you fully.
There's really not much there.
That's not true.
That's not much.
That's not true.
Not much there.
So we got to talk. We talked a lot about Macho, your first dog.
Yeah.
Right. And how much we loved him. I don't think we talked about how before you got Macho, before you even came to the unit, our friend, who's a vendor, had Macho as a puppy and was bringing him up. And I actually had him at my house for the weekend
When he was a little pup.
when he was a little pup. And my wife, I remember I was working and she called me while I was working and he was running around in our basement like a madman. She couldn't catch him. He was just being macho.
Yeah.
Just wide open little Mally puppy. I don't even remember how old he was at the time. He was probably like 4 months, something
Okay.
like that, maybe. And then,
Old enough to bite you.
yes, and he laid those little needles in you
Yeah.
for sure at an early age. Shoot. Then after that, it wasn't long when they decided we were gonna bring you on or have an opening.
Right.
I
Because openings don't come around very often.
No, unfortunately.
You know, I think I was 10 years on the road as a patrol officer.
Right.
Big. I mean, I was out on the bomb squad, but that's a part-time gig. You know,
Right.
you get called out, you're on the bomb squad.
Right.
And you had training days and stuff like that, but it wasn't a full-time position.
Right.
Everyone watching knows if you're trying to get into a specialty, right, you got to wait for someone to retire out of there. We talked about that.
For the most
Or
part.
get fired or
like, remember we talked about 9/11.
get promoted or whatever.
They did create out of thin air 2 bomb dogs.
It's true.
Positions
Yeah.
out of thin air after 9/11. But other than that,
We've created, I think, we've added 2 bloodhounds. And other than that, your patrol and narcotic dog numbers have stayed the same
yeah.
for the last 30 years.
So we whipped how many patrol dogs? 4?
3.
3.
4 drug dogs.
So you're down a patrol dog.
It's true. Actually, you're right.
Because when I first came on, we had 4. When I first came on,
It was 4 drug, 4 patrol, and 2 bomb, 2 bloodhounds. We got 2 therapy dogs now.
do you really? Yes.
And
Is that a full-time K9 position?
no, it's 2 officers though, and it's their personal dogs that are certified as therapy pets. And so if they're requested, they bring it to the station or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, may I inquire what breed of dog are these?
But one of these people very well.
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Is it somebody that we've talked about maybe being on the show one day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about.
We don't want to ruin it.
No.
Because listen, the therapy dog is not my genre.
Right.
I don't know anything about it.
They're amazing though.
So yeah, so why not? We'll leave that person to talk about the benefits of therapy dog.
So all right, real quick talk about therapy dog. My wife had a gallbladder issue years ago. She had to have her gallbladder removed, and it was a little bit complicated. And one night after my daughter and I left the hospital, they brought in a therapy dog. And she's half drugged up, just laying there. And the lady comes in. It was a Sheltie. It was a little Sheltie. And the lady said, "Would you like to pet her?" And my wife's like, "Oh God, yes." And dog just jumped up on the bed and curled up next to her. And that made her night. It really did. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, what also is funny, when I had heart surgery 2 years ago, they sliced me wide open and worked on my heart. And I'm in the ICU for 2 weeks or whatever. And they bring by a therapy dog.
I was going to ask you about
They
that.
bring by a therapy dog and they come outside the door and they ask first, right? So, I got dogs at work. I got my own business training dog.
Right.
The last thing I want to do is see a dog. That's like when I go on vacation, my wife's like, what do you want to do? Anywhere where there's not a dog. I don't want to take care of a dog, look at a dog, talk about a dog, train a dog.
I totally
And
get
so
it.
I'm laying up, with a gash from here to here, a mechanical valve keeping me going. And they're like, "Do you want to?" My mom and my wife and someone else, my sister, I think we're all in the room, and like, "Oh, he loves dogs. Bring it on in." I'm like, "That's the last thing."
You barely
But But for the average person, that would bring some benefit,
Right,
okay?
yeah.
But like the person who like deals and lives in dogs, and I'm like, I kind of want to kind of just heal from this heart
Just
surgery.
let me get away from dogs for just
Can you
a
bring me a
minute.
beer
Yeah,
instead of a dog?
exactly.
Yeah.
A Shiner Bach. Shout out Shiner.
Everyone grieves differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or heals differently.
The K9. You know what, Nate? There's something else that about the first episode. So I want to finish up your story and or your intro. And I just had a brain fart.
Oh no.
God.
Live on the air, people. We got, what? We got to get like some outlines or something going on here.
I know. Just winging it. But that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Like Joe Rogan. I like how shout out Joe.
Yeah.
They
Joe
just kinda,
Rogan sent us this beer.
right from Austin, Texas. The mothership.
Yeah.
Go see.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I wanted to finish up your intro. And then we've got some good stuff coming.
Yeah.
We want to talk about because you've been getting I know what my brain fart was. We haven't told our millions of fans our email.
Oh my goodness.
How did we not do that?
I don't know.
How did that slip?
I kind of just assumed they would think it's the K9 Brew Crew and something.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone's got Gmail now.
Is that what it is?
So you would probably just guess
K9
the
Brew Crew at gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly not paying for a .com email of our own. You know what I mean?
No. Our sponsor is not good enough. It's not big enough.
Yeah, no. And we are working on some actual legitimate sponsors. They haven't technically paid us yet, so I'm not going to drop their names quite yet. But as soon as they do, we'll put their links in the description.
Yes.
And all of the ways that they help. But until then.
So we definitely should put the link to our email in the description area, right?
Yeah.
Or on the
K9 Brew Crew at gmail.com. That's K9, K the number 9.
K, the letter K, number 9. Exactly. So,
if I can figure out how to edit, I'll flash it up right now. How about that? Well, right here, you'll see the email.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, maybe.
That would be awesome.
Maybe. It's taking all we can do just to have this fucking thing get recorded here.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to Macho.
Yep.
And him having a sleepover at my house when he was a puppy. Right before you came on, that one handler, Mike Lewis, the legend guy that did it, he's the world record holder as a canine, probably in America.
Yeah, literally 40 years in canine.
Yeah,
if we
insane.
can, if my house was like wheelchair accessible, we get him over here.
Look, you gotta be careful, man. He's quick to call his ARP rep, the AARP rep,
and he's in better shape than I am.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That dude's like a marathon runner his whole life.
Oh my God,
he'll absolutely come over. Oh, now we're gonna have to have his headphones like really high.
Yeah,
because he is deaf.
He's but
he rode around with like a dog barking for 40 years.
40 years. Think about that. I mean, the dude. He was always in great shape. He was a monster.
We don't want to steal his stories or anything, but there is a funny one about when he first started in canines before they had vehicles. There was no canine vehicle. They didn't build kennel inserts for dogs. Right? They rode them in the front seat, told them to stay there. If they needed them, they'd call them out.
Leave the window down or something.
Left the window down. Yeah, absolutely. And he said there were so many times where he'd pull a car over and be writing a ticket, and the dog misinterpreted whether it's his hand signals or whatever, and the dog would come, and next thing you know, the dog's like lighting up this guy that's getting the speed, and he's like, yeah, then I had to tear the ticket up and let him go, and I'm like, meanwhile, the dude's like triceps hanging off.
Good old days.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Those are the people. They're the reason why the body cam started.
Correct.
I used to tell my dad when he was still living, he was in law enforcement. I was like, he would tell these stories. I'm like, you motherfucker. Yeah. You're the reason I've got to wear this camera. He's like, I know it was awesome. But I'm like, yeah, for you it was.
Yeah. But, so his dog passed like right before you. And I think we talked about that in episode 1 a little bit.
We did.
And so he had Macho, right? And Mike and I Well, correction. I tested Macho, and he was rock solid, rock solid. Like I've never seen in a test before. I mean, I fought him pretty good, and doing frontals and. So for our fans that are not familiar with patrol dog, working dogs,
Millions of fans, Steve.
so when you're training a puppy, you want to start off, encouraging them to bite correctly. So we generally try to work in prey drive, right?
Right.
Right. So prey drive for the good folks, that's when you're acting like prey for the dog. So we're building them up. Well, Macho, I don't know, he might have been like 6 months old at the time. And I had him doing frontals right here in the armpit, balling him up, taking him to the ground, pretending like I'm fighting him. And he just came up.
Didn't bother him at all.
No. So I was like, he's sold. We're taking him. And so Mike, after his dog passed, he took him. And then Mike and I worked with him a little bit. He had initially he had some slick floor issues a little bit, nothing bad. So we worked on it, and it was. Then you came on. We talked about this also last time. How you rode with him,
Right.
driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, Drive Miss Daisy, we called it.
And then you took him to school, and it was just a phenomenal. And you and I were fortunate to be able to go to school together,
Right.
and do some things. And golly, what was that like? How many years did you work Macho?
10 full.
10
Because you got to
years.
think, I certified him at a year and some change. The dog was like, I think like 14 months at certification day, which is a little young, but
This is something I would like to do. So now we're talking about Macho right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's see if we could put a picture of Macho up.
Jesus.
I know.
You're asking for so
Look here,
much.
there's pictures of Macho everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got a floppy ear.
Yeah.
He looked like a train wreck,
Yeah.
like a junkyard dog.
I mean, he's got his own Instagram account.
But boom,
Yeah.
there you go.
I can figure that out. Here you go. Right here is going to be a picture of
Yes.
The editing on this video is going to take like 87 hours. This is not going to get put out
It's
until
gonna
like
be fine. It'll be
June.
fine. I have confidence in you.
Actually, it's not too difficult to do that. But yeah, so yeah, like a year and 14 months or something like that. And then he worked to 11, almost 12. So almost 11 working years.
Wow. And
Yeah.
for our handler friends out there, they know
Yeah.
they're
As hard on a dog as it is. Yeah.
and
Dog was just bulletproof.
and Macho, for the folks out there, he had no self-preservation.
Yeah.
I mean, he almost killed himself how many
A
times?
bunch of times.
I mean, he came down on that rebar. Thank goodness he was wearing his
Yeah.
vest.
Yeah.
And shout out to that company.
Yeah.
What's the name of that vest?
Well, London Bridge.
London Bridge. You guys. That
And
dog.
then had that guy who tried to like stab him with like that box cutter, and he was wearing his Storm K9 vest.
Boom.
Shout out to Storm K9.
Shout out to Storm K9. Yes.
Thanks to Spike's K9.
Yes.
Who provided those for free for handlers and dogs across the country. Great organization.
Great people. Thank you again, folks.
Yep. So kept him alive. And then he cut his paw that time on that building search, and I had to rush him to the ER, and they put that dog back together again.
He was like Frankenstein
Oh
by
my
the end.
God.
But he was so much fun.
Yeah.
He was so much fun. So how long ago did Macho retire from this point where we're at right now in 2025?
He retired in 23.
Okay.
So 2 years ago.
Okay, about
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And all right, so that puts us on to your next dog, who's what was his name initially?
Like at the vendor? Like what the vendor called him?
What you were gonna call him?
I was gonna call Macho number 2.
That's awesome.
Actually, I threw some names around. Like, I still believe in you don't name your first dog, right? So
Yeah.
Macho is the dog's name,
Right.
when you brought him to me, right? So
Right.
I didn't name the dog. I'm kind of old school guy when it comes to that. Like, I don't think
I
you
agree.
really deserve to name your own dog your first time around.
Or pick out your own dog.
Yeah. And now after he bit like 100 people, then I was like, I kind of deserve to pick up my next dog's name. But so I was thinking he was so great, Macho point 2.0.
2.0,
right?
yeah, it makes sense.
Don't even got to change the name of my car. Just put a 2 on the side.
Exactly. With a crayon.
And I was like, I can't name him the same name. So I was like, instead of Macho, how about Nacho?
That's what
Yeah.
that's what I was
And
thinking.
I still like the Nacho, but then as a father of children,
Correct.
as you do,
The little you've got small children
You do.
still.
well, they're not. Yeah, I mean, it's compared to yours.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, kids, you name the dog."
Wow.
And they were like in the Muppet baby
That
phase.
was a roll of the
And
dice.
Gonzo with a big nose.
Yes.
I said, "Hey, he's got a big nose too, Gonzo."
Gonzo.
So we went with
I
Gonzo.
love it.
I could really care less of a dog's name though.
I know.
I was like, I remember like Scott Cruz used to always say that. He's like, I never used a dog's name
Right.
unless I'm writing a report like Gonzo bit person and left tricep or something like that.
Right.
But I don't use their name. It's come, sit, stay, whatever.
Right. Correct.
I don't preface it with their
Hey,
name.
you know what?
Name doesn't matter.
You're
Could care less.
100%. I
Yeah.
agree.
And like we talked about before, really the uglier, you know what I mean? I don't know. This dog's good looking.
It is a good looking
Macho was all scarred up and ears were flopped over and just was really not a full Malinois. Definitely had some mix in there.
little junkyard.
Yeah.
So now to describe Macho, y'all are gonna see a picture of him. And we'll have to put a picture of Gonzo.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzo is a jet black Mal,
Yeah.
Dutch something. What would you refer to him as?
There's
paperwork?
They claim he's a full on Malinois. He looks like one.
Just a black Mal.
Yeah. If you're going by the passport
Right.
and the X-rays,
That are-
he came from Holland like they all do. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I do my own testing. I do my testing away from them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't let them go and do their little rigmarole. Boom, boom, boom. Hide the Kong in the same fucking locker they've done the last 87 times.
Right.
This dog,
Exactly.
right? So I get them away from them and do my own thing. So names and where they're from, and honestly, doesn't really matter much at all.
Right.
Age does matter some. I think Gonzo was 10 months when I bought
10
him.
months.
Yeah.
So nowadays, the age when the vendors are selling them is dropped.
Right. Well, if you get there and a dog's 2 years old,
Right.
why is it still there?
Right. That's kind of how the business is going.
Yeah.
But when I first started, I want to say Boris was, I think he was a year, maybe.
Really? That's surprising
Maybe he wasn't.
back then.
But you got to think that was circa 2003,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah. That's young for that year,
Right.
really.
So I think he was 12 months when we got him. So now they're dropping down even lower.
Yeah. Well, I'd say a year's your average. Obviously year and a half is still your average. But
Okay.
you used to see them 20 years ago. They were 2 and 3.
Yes.
They're 2 and 3.
Yeah.
all day.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now they're 1.
Yeah. Especially the German Shepherds.
Yeah.
Most people were using the German Shepherds
Right,
back when
right.
I first came in. And now, is it mostly Malinois?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is any German Shepherds in the greater area?
Let me see here. With our training group, maybe there's one or two here and there.
Okay.
1 or 2 Dutchies, mostly Mallies. So many dog teams. It's hard to keep track now.
Yeah.
And it's also discipline specific. In patrol, we talked about this in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't watched it, go back and look at it.
Yes, please.
Really, probably 60 to 8 pounds, 70 pounds is kind of the sweet spot for just today. Just today, I searched this huge building and it was like a 45-minute long. It was a huge place.
Right.
So we did all the living space. The guy broke into it, left blood everywhere, whole 9 yards, and then had to search attics and crawl space and all those
Ugh.
places that I don't care how fit you are. It's got nothing to do with like how in shape you are.
Right.
Being able to physically carry the dog is not the problem, and getting them in those places is the issue.
Yes.
So with Gonzo, the current dog, he's I don't know, haven't even weighed him. Again,
Okay.
don't really care.
Mhm.
If he was like 90, I'd be able to tell.
Right. Right.
He's big and tall, but he's
So you think about 80,
75,
75,
maybe.
80.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looks bigger than he really is.
That's perfect.
I can still grab him and toss him around easily,
Right.
so I can get him to where he's got to go. I've always heard like in the past, like everyone like got this 100-pound shepherd, right? And they're like, oh, you ought to hear the jaws in this thing. He's so strong. That's keyword for that dog won't bite a ham sandwich. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Tell me about all your street bites. Oh, he hadn't bit nobody yet. They all give up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you got,
Meanwhile, this 50-pound chainsaw of a Mally is like
yeah.
obliterated 20
Yeah,
people last year alone.
So for our fans, as far as a patrol dog goes, it doesn't have to have a 2,000 foot per square inch bite pressure
No,
to do the job, right?
no.
The dog is going to do his job, and it doesn't matter really
No.
how large or strong a bite pressure is. As long as the dog's going to engage, they're all going to do the job.
That's the ticket, right?
Right.
Engage no matter what.
Correct.
No matter where, no matter any environment,
Exactly.
which we went around doing all the street proofing schools back in the day. They have to engage no matter what this human is doing, because most of the times they're doing nothing.
Right.
So I set this up all the time in our training groups. Like if you have a person just go into a building and pretend like they're a janitor
Mm-hmm.
and they're just opening and closing doors and rattling keys or mopping or whatever.
Right.
Half the dogs you travel around, you see other jurisdictions, like they won't even engage that.
Right.
That person's not wearing any kind of equipment, which you should not be doing.
Right.
Doing these weird, sketchy little decoy moves only decoys make.
Right.
Not humans.
That's going to key the dog.
All this stuff. So yeah, I don't look. And when you have a live street bite, these people are panicking whether the dog has clothing
Right.
or he's on her throat. 'Cause
Right.
I've had all of that.
Right.
I've head bites, throat bites, all this stuff, and just clothing.
Yes.
They're acting like they're dying no matter what.
They're just scared.
Or they're so high on something or mentally incapacitated, they're giving you exactly nothing.
Right.
So the pressure
That's
of the bite.
rare.
Yeah. The pressure of the bite is absolute falsehood that actually matters.
It doesn't matter.
No. That's
ridiculous. Well, unless you like old school Buster. Did we talk about Buster?
Oh, give us a Buster story.
So when I first came on up, the city had a Rottweiler that had just retired by the name of Buster. And our next guest, he'll be able to tell a lot more Buster stories than me. But Buster broke legs. He broke arms.
Yeah.
Buster, he actually literally had almost fights to the death between him and the dog. It was a fight to the death between Buster and this guy who was hopped up on, I don't remember, I want to say cocaine and meth and vodka. But
Good
Buster,
combination.
the rumor on the street is there's people walking around the city with a limp to this day because of Buster.
Yeah.
But, so then
What kind of dog was he?
he was a Rottweiler.
Oh, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. And the funny thing is,
I got some nice scars from a Roddy did all that to me.
nice.
Put big old holes in me. It was just a personal dog. I was training for a lady.
Yeah.
And he lit me up. He like 27 stitches, I think.
I
it
remember
was.
that story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I tell you what, but he came around.
Yeah.
He came around.
They'll learn.
Yeah, they'll learn.
They're going to learn. But the story about how the city got Buster, he was donated to the city of Richmond. I think he lived in Orange, Virginia. And he killed a calf.
Sounds very
killed
similar to Brutus.
Yeah, he killed a calf and drug it home. I think it was like 400 pounds. We'll confirm that with our next guest that's coming on our next episode after this. But that's how nasty that guy was. And his bite pressure did matter because he could kill somebody quickly.
Yeah.
You know, you think about it, if he bites his femur in half,
Yeah.
all of a sudden that dog's, guy's bleeding out. We don't want that.
I was at a conference years ago and was decoying for like aggression control station. And there's this guy, I can't remember where he was from. Not Virginia, but son of a bitch. It was a gel extraction dog.
Oh gosh.
So it's years ago when they could, I don't know if they can still do that or not. I don't know. I don't work in the jails, but he had a Turkish Kangal.
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
So we were doing like vehicle extraction,
Right.
stuff like that. So I'm hiding in this vehicle with like, just my very thin, sporty Franco Angelini like, bite suit on, and that dog. I've got no idea what dog's coming.
Right. Yeah.
It's like dog number 20 for the day.
It doesn't matter.
And this thing bit me and through the suit immediately. Like I could feel wetness, and I'm like, I've got punctures right through the suit. And so the idea was to fight the dog. Well, this dog was way more than I did.
Right.
Literally, when he walked up to the car,
It looked like
he looked down on me.
an Irish wolfhound. A dire wolf.
He bit me, pulled me through the window, and I was like, that
hurt.
sucks, right? So he said, praise him up, and the guy walks him off, whatever. And I'm like, what was that? And like, Turkish side, take the suit off. And I had to, the suit was like embedded in my skin or the whole, so I pulled the suit off and just big old punctures.
Nice.
I was like, you probably could have like warned the person.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah, the good old days.
Oh, man, that just reminded me of the story when you and I were putting a guy through school, and he had some really nasty bruises. Maybe it broke the skin.
Yeah.
He was wearing a suit, and they sent the animal protection.
No, that's not what happened.
That didn't remind me.
Close.
Okay.
So our sergeant called me and said, hey, I need all your paperwork for Macho because of the bite you got in such and such jurisdiction. Won't say the name. And I was like, I've had a bite in that jurisdiction. That was like a year ago, though. They're like, no, like on Monday. I was like, no, it was a training day. I did not get a street bite on Monday. And then to come to find out that handler,
it was a decoy.
The handler we were putting through school,
right?
His supervisors, the story I heard.
Okay.
What I heard was, and I don't know how the hell you got omitted from this, but Nathan Kelly is being sued for biting someone. It's the story I got, and I'm pretty sure you were there. Your dog was there too.
Yeah, I was the trainer.
Yeah,
I was the trainer that
exactly. Day. And they said, well, there's essentially blah 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 lawsuit. Your dog bit somebody. I was like, he did not. It turns out that K9 handler going through his first green school. He says he was walking through the hallways and like a random supervisor saw the
bruises.
The wounds, the bruises. And he wanted to file like I don't know, what's the charge for like cruel and unusual punishment or something, or hazing?
Yeah, maybe.
I think it was hazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and he was like, no, that's not the case. I was actually dog training. He's like, no, they shouldn't be doing that to you. And so, because somehow my name got thrown out, they wanted Macho's rabies records to make sure this guy didn't have rabies.
That's what it was.
Yes.
That's all right. Yep.
And then when the next time we saw that handler,
we gave him the business.
You can imagine the conversation.
We gave him the business.
And he swore up and down it wasn't him. And I was like, dude, that is fucking nothing. You know, I've had my arms put back together so many times.
Oh my
and you're
gosh.
whining and complaining about a few bruises from a bite suit.
My very first school, the back of my arm was so black all the time that at one point they wouldn't let me get back in the suit for a while because they were worried about a blood clot being thrown and killing me. I was like, well, you maybe should have told me that before I got this bad. Like, oh my gosh, what in the world?
It's really, you know what? I'm kind of like reliving bite suit pressure all over again because for years, whether it's like on your pec or tricep or bicep or leg, wherever dogs would actually bite you a lot, you almost get like calcified.
Yes.
Like I don't even get bridges.
Yeah.
Well, but now post heart surgery, and
Can't do that.
I'm on blood thinners.
Do you even work the suit anymore? Where?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to.
You should probably not.
Yeah. But yeah, I got quick clot nearby.
Okay, that'll work. That'll work.
But it shows up very easily now.
I bet.
Like if I take like a frontal and get like I've got a spot like this, and I'll come home and take my shirt off.
You probably should not be taking frontals anywhere near where that device is. The dog can hear it and feel it clicking.
I know, but
it's probably going to stimulate him more.
I keep reminding myself if I die at work, though,
Yeah,
the
family's covered.
Gets more money. So
I like how you're thinking.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. So we moved on to Gonzo.
Yeah.
We got Gonzo about 2 years ago.
Yes.
And he is a black Mal, about 75 pounds.
I don't know why I got the color out there, but go ahead.
Because when you first got him, you said, "Hey, you need to see this thing."
Because it looks just like
it's like a twin
yeah.
of my last dog, Mako.
Yeah.
Mako was a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, just
almost identical.
Almost identical. Tall.
Yeah, it's pretty
lanky.
Wild. Pretty wild, yeah.
Just it's awesome. I just think it's cool.
He was like and talking about like vendors and buying that and going through the process. You know, I was teaching this school, you know, I just retired Macho.
Yes.
I had a couple of departments needing dogs trained, like needed them trained. They gotta go. So I was starting this school, and then I needed a dog. And I was picking out dogs for these guys are coming through. I think Chesterfield had a school going at the same time, so they had like 3 or 4 handlers, 5 handlers, something like that. And I went to vendor after vendor after vendor, and was just weeding through. And then I went to Orchard Knoll.
Orchard Knoll,
on several occasions.
Where is Orchard Knoll?
North Carolina.
Okay,
yep.
What part? Is that place where we got that?
That's where Puddin got a dog from there years ago. Ken Matthias, Orchard Knoll.
Okay.
Been in a game forever.
Matthias, yes.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Been in a game forever.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, you know, going down the list, of course, you know, Orchard Knoll is one of those like, hey, here's the kennels, go look at them.
Right.
Not like tag along and try to work the dog for you. And I go walk down the line, I'm like, man, that looks like a mini Mako. No way in hell this dog's gonna be any good.
Right.
That would be awesome. You know what I mean? And test all of them, obviously. That was like my 3rd time to Orchard Knoll in like 2 months too, just going through them because you really have to weed through the BS to get to a real street meets kind of a dog.
Different trainers they're testing for different things.
Yeah.
Right? There are different drives.
Right.
Are more important to some trainers.
Yeah.
And you know, you and I, we always liked a really high drive dog.
Yeah, well, I had like the saying, like it's easier to bring down the crazy than to build up the soft. Right. So I want one that's gonna bite.
You got to bring him down.
Yeah, that'll bite Jesus.
Right.
And I'll cap him later on. Right.
Exactly.
As opposed to one that's
soft.
You don't have that.
And then you got to build
the dog in the game. Right. And of course, you know,
and there's some dogs that really even tempered that you can do that with, but it's just more difficult.
Yeah.
You know,
and like this current one, he's a pretty stoic dog. It's not a loud dog.
Oh, that's always a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Clean.
Even better.
Doesn't jerk off at the kennel. Hit me in the head when I'm driving down the road.
Pot. Doesn't smell like a crab pot in your truck.
Macho we'd be going down the interstate. He just pissed in the car like we're outside in the woods.
Whatever.
Did not give a fuck. Yeah. It was horrible. 10 years of that.
All right. I got a real quick question.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a dog when you do it? Have you ever searched a church?
I searched one today.
Did the dog take a piss on the pulpit?
He pissed twice in the you know what's funny is this like Gonzo, the current dog. The call volume is extremely lower these days
Okay.
than it was.
Back in the day.
Yes. So like buildings, I guess obviously it's going to depend on where you work. Like if you're like LAPD or something, you're probably
Right.
doing like a building a day with your dog. Or
Yeah.
something. I don't know. But we probably get like a legit B&E and someone still inside, kind of like maybe once a month or so.
Right.
So he hasn't had like tons and tons of them because he's still a year and a half into this current dog
Right.
working
Career.
span. But I still, gave him a potty break before he went in and all that. And but that was a long search.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm making excuses, but you're talking probably from the time we hold the air and go in, about 30, 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this place is huge.
Yeah.
And of course, I never want to call it clear until I see every nick and cranny.
Right.
Because the last thing I want is like I got to be hiding like in the rafters.
Come behind
and then
you.
You're that guy who missed somebody.
Right.
So I search all of them. And so twice he peed. And of course, I nick him with the heat tolerant stops. But that's typically, that nothing's here.
Mm-hmm.
That bored behavior.
Right.
Because if you put him into a building and he gets an odor of actual human odor. I mean, you can read the proximity a mile away.
Yeah, pheromones going.
Oh my God!
You can just watch that dog
he's going to turn into a monster. So we got none of that the entire time. So it was one big blank.
Right.
And if you're not doing blanks in training, which you should be doing, right? Everyone wants to go set up a building and go hide in the back left room, whatever they always do, or whatever, and like the search lasts a minute long.
Right.
But we do 20-minute long blanks.
Right.
And then go into a hot one and he gets a bite and then back into it. So they're accustomed to it.
Right.
So even with him being fairly new, I was still kind of surprised he tried it. We stopped at the water fountain and got him some water.
Yeah.
I do that with every dog.
I do too.
I let them drink out of the water fountain every time.
I mean, it's just, why not?
Yeah. They need water. They're tired.
Exactly.
It's hot.
It's better than let them drink out of a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he did that too. When you're going 40 minutes, like imagine the breath rate.
Oh yeah.
The inhalation rate of searching.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Wearing a dog out.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's in a warmer time of the year,
Mm-hmm.
Or even pretty much year round, because in the, when it's cooler out, like it is now, it's February, although today was a fairly warm day.
Yep.
Right. This is the last day of February.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah. There's no 29th, right? No leap year.
No 29. No 20. No.
I got a buddy of mine who's born on the 29th, so he's like actually 45, but I think that would be like his 10th birthday. Like we have like kid birthdays because every 4 years or whatever it is. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Gosh, dog it. I lost my train of thought again, Nate. My age is coming.
Dude, you're in the brain farts.
No, I don't know what's going on.
You're getting old, dog.
So how many leaks? He took 2 leaks.
Yeah.
In the church.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
I know. We were talking about the heat.
Yep.
And so in the wintertime, they got the heat on. In the summertime, they have the air conditioning. So it's almost year round inside.
In a lived-in structure, I guess.
Right. Warehouses, that's a little different animal.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime in a warehouse is, oh my gosh, so hot.
Dying.
So Boris took a piss on the pulpit one time. And
did you clean it?
You know what? I did not.
You know what reminds me? So I literally, after we search this entire thing, I then go and find the janitorial stuff is literally in the hallway.
Yeah.
Because they were like cleaning up the blood from this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realized, hey, we might want to call the police. He might still be in here. And then they unasked the area. But anyway, so all the cleaning supplies was right there. So I went back to try to find it. In both places where he was attempting to go to the bathroom, I couldn't find it to clean it.
Oh.
So I don't know if it dried from the time we started by the time I got back over there, or maybe that I nick him just in time to stop him. But he definitely got into the action of doing it.
He got the leg
and
up.
Both, like all of the like backup officers that were with me, they're like, "Oh, you're going to hell, your dog." I was like, my dog's done way worse than peeing at church, dude. This is nothing.
Yeah, but the reason I didn't clean it is because he peed. It was a plant, like right there at the pulpit.
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, they have plants right around the little pedestal. He peed in the plants. So I was like, you know what? He didn't get the carpet or
Yeah.
anything else, you know.
I remember we were clearing this building one time, and I think you were with me. We were clearing like there was like this old like Air National Guard or whatever it was. Yeah, and there was like this painting of a person, like lifelike. It was 3D image. Like if you came around the corner, you would think it's a human.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't know. Like we send Macho in there, and like we hear this clacking, clacking, clacking. I was like, what is that? And we come around the corner, and what used to look like a human was completely covered in blood because he was jumping up and trying to bite the
Right,
concrete
right.
because he thought it was a human.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, there's zero human odor there.
I remember.
That's when you know they're going all visual on you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, he was still young.
Yeah.
He had just
I think it was
graduated.
school, wasn't it?
It may have still been in school.
I don't know. He was young, but he was going.
You know
He
what
was
it was?
eating that thing up.
Yes, he was.
And I was like, dude, you're just headhunting now.
Yeah. I know what it was. You had graduated and we were working the same schedule and we were just getting additional training in.
Yep.
I think we were just getting some extra building searches in and they were going to demolish that building shortly thereafter anyway.
Yes.
So we just used it to get some extra work in. But so what's your most favorite? What's your best story about Gonzo?
Gonzo.
Your favorite Gonzo story?
Well, he ain't been around long enough.
That's what I'm saying.
He is. You know what? I don't know. I don't know if I really have a favorite story of his. He really hasn't done any. You know, when a dog works for a decade,
Mm-hmm. Well, of course,
he's got some big shoes to
we've
fill.
got years
Yeah.
of this show to highlight Macho's stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And
If we can figure out how to put videos up,
I wonder,
like a little picture in picture. I see people do this all the time.
Mhm.
I'm sure one of our millions of fans, they're going to comment. they're going to leave a link.
Right,
Or they're going to email us at
Right.
the K9 Brew Crew at gmail.com.
That would be awesome.
And say, hey, dumbasses, it's very simple. Just alt control this thing, majigger.
Right.
And then we can import videos.
So I know, the millions of fans are not necessarily familiar with Petersburg High School or Meadowbrook High School, but
if
the
you-
locals here would
If
know.
you were familiar with either one of those, you would know why we can't figure out how to do this.
We can't figure out. Well, first of all, when I graduated high school, there were no laptops.
Yeah.
The laptop didn't exist, and any computer work, it was all like DOS,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
And so was like the computers when we started internet, like we started police work. Like
Yeah,
the
even when I
DOS
started
thing,
police
MS
work.
DOS.
Yeah, we were still using DOS to check email. It was very primitive. So these young bucks, I was listening to Sean Ryan's show today, which reminded
He's
me.
got a few more followers than we do,
Not many.
like 12 or 13.
Yeah. Not many more. But the guy he was interviewing was a Navy SEAL, and he was he was a captain who was about to retire. I think he hasn't retired yet. He's still on active duty. But he was talking about how Gen Z, how great they are. And Sean's like, oh, dude, elaborate. He said, man, these kids, they're innovating so fast. If we're running into a problem and they'll innovate something, they'll take a drone, their personal play drone, they'll modify it, 3D print something for it, and they'll put it in the field, and they're making problems go away. They're solving problems fast.
Yeah.
They're innovating faster than the Navy can.
I don't even know what generation Gen Z is year from year, born from where to where.
You know what? Gen Z's like,
That's the latest one?
yeah, that's
I don't
like
even know what we're calling
our
them.
20s, the ones that are like early 20s now.
People that are currently 20 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like my daughter. My daughter's considered Gen Z. When she was growing up, if I called her a millennial, she'd throw a fit.
really.
Yeah, she did not want to be called a millennial.
So she was older than a millennial. No, wait,
No, younger.
millennials were past her. Right.
Yeah, no, younger. Yeah.
Okay.
No. Millennials are older than she is.
Yeah.
They were like the '90s babies,
A millennial. I guess that makes sense.
right?
If you're born around 2000, you're considered a millennial, which would make you
Was
25
she
right
was
now.
she was my daughter was born in 2000, so she's Gen Z, I think.
Really?
Maybe if our fans could help us out, send us a note in the comments or at the K9 Brew Crew at gmail.com.
Yeah. Generation like codes is not our thing.
No.
No.
We really don't care.
We'll stick to Shiner Box and Police Dog.
But we can get some young buck to show us how to do some of this stuff because we don't have Jamie yet. But we'll get a Jamie before yet. That's
Jamie's
our plan.
cost too much.
I know.
Yeah.
But pretty soon here we'll have this thing down to a science and be able to.
You mentioned the slick floor issues earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it, do you think, when we use the term, we've always used the term environmentals,
Right.
right? It's the term is the dog environmentally sound,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And in the police world, they use that term, right?
Right.
I noticed in the pet business, owning like a board and train business doing pet dogs, they call it socialization.
Okay. Hold on now.
When I say they call that, they're referring to the same thing.
So when they talk about socialization, they're talking about environmentals.
Well, they should be, but they're wrong, right? So let's say we go to test a police dog candidate, right?
Right.
And we say we're concerned about it environmentally, right?
Right.
To me and you, that means we want a dog that is neutral in all environments.
Right.
So
Floors,
obviously,
stairs.
right, like so floor, stairs, people, other dogs, right? They don't react. Everything means nothing to them. Everything's a tree. Right. So whether I take this dog to Home Depot and do bite work,
right,
or a Walmart parking lot and do tracking, or take it on the slick floors, up graded stairs, none of this stuff should be matter. It should be environmentally sound.
Correct. Yes,
right?
That's the goal.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for.
And if you have one that has a problem with that, then you build up that environmental issue. That's the term we've always used.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Tracking. Now, I've ran across a problem with the civilian side, and I used to blame COVID for this for a long time.
Okay.
And so
hit me.
Yeah, so we're talking about environmentals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take the average, should be, if you have good environmentals, average police dog, they should not have an issue with a bus going by.
Correct.
Or thunder going off.
Okay.
Or gunfire.
So that's in the civilian world, that's falling under socialization.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where it came from.
Okay.
However, but because they're using that term,
yeah,
it's fucking up a bunch of dogs. Right. So let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So from 2017 or so is when I started saying, hey, let's do personal dogs instead of law enforcement. Right. We went around doing like our street proofing schools.
Yes.
And, doing hard surface tracking. And then I was like, hey, to be quite frankly, you can make more money instead at home and do personal dogs.
Right.
Had like family members begging you to train their own dog and turn into pretty much primarily that.
Right.
And I used to have, on average, a person would come and say, hey, my dog pulls on the leash, right? Or won't stop jumping on guests. Or I can't get it to come back to me.
Right.
Like pretty simple obedient stuff from like a guy like me and you.
Right.
Like, hey, I can do that in like 2 weeks or whatever. So that's where the idea of board and train started. And that happened then around, and I still don't know if it's a linger from COVID. I get your opinion, but 2020-ish and on, 2021 and on, people would come and I would have them fill out a contract. What's your top 3 goals?
Mm-hmm.
What drives you crazy? And it was always from years ago, pulling on the leash, won't come on call, jumps on the counter,
yes.
Basic obedience. Now, in the last 3-4 years, and I can't really understand why, other than maybe COVID and people have changed the way to interact now, but now it's all reactivity.
Okay.
almost primarily.
Really?
The number one complaint of what their dog does, which drives me crazy. Like, you know me, you know, like dogs do what you allow them to do.
Correct.
Right. So, but because dogs can't speak, people blame the dog.
Right.
Right.
Always.
Always. And I have like this, they have these videos and like these a forum and like blogs on my website that I send to like board and train clients. And essentially, if I had to dumb it down to a Reader's Digest, is it's you, not the dog. Stop blaming the dog.
Right.
But you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
So there's a lot of people that don't know how to stop their dog from jumping on guests, or don't know how to teach a recall, or I don't know why my dog is barking, right? So you can't be held liable for something you don't know.
Right.
And if you seek out training, that's my obligation to tell you, hey, it's you.
That's your job.
Right.
But
But
they might not like it.
yeah. But I'm wondering, I used to say it was COVID because people no longer went out and exposed their dog.
That, you know what, that makes sense.
Not
All right.
socialized.
Before we go further,
Yeah.
please explain the definition of reactivity and what that means and what kind of behaviors reactivity displays.
Yeah. So I'll give an example.
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking about, I don't know, doesn't matter, personal pet, police dog, military, whatever. A dog. Breed also doesn't matter.
Correct.
Age doesn't matter.
Right.
If I have the dog, leash doesn't matter. Right? So let's say you just have your dog out in your backyard or you're walking it on a leash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I don't care how old it is or what kind of breed it is. And that dog sees another dog.
Okay.
Right? The reaction it gets from that stimulus
Seeing that other dog.
should be nothing.
Right. It should be
Right.
just glance at it like whatever.
That might as well be a tree there.
Right.
Now, I don't care if the dog is excited to go see it. Right?
Just like wants to trot over.
Yeah. And I don't care if the dog is afraid and wants to, I don't care if the dog's been attacked and wants to get away from it.
Right.
I don't care if you're one of those idiots to take your dogs to dog parks. Because I
We're
said,
not fans of
yeah, dude, if I could go back in time,
and eliminate dog parks from
the person that invented the dog park, if I could travel back in time and I could do three things,
Yes. Yes.
Burke and that person would be number one on the list, probably.
Yes.
Right. So because they fucked up more dogs than any other
You know what,
training.
honestly,
tool.
Nate, let's keep it real here. The fact that that person did invent the dog park basically provides you with a living.
Yeah.
So hey, we might not want to eliminate that person.
Yeah.
So,
That and
we
the,
don't recommend it.
That and the positive approach only people,
Oh,
dude,
God.
they pad the pockets because
Yeah.
my dog's jumping on me. We'll just drop treats on the floor.
Yeah. No, don't
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
There has to be a correction.
After the 2 or 3 times that distraction actually works, right? At some point, correct the dog as it would be in nature.
Correct.
Right.
What would mom do? What would the mother dog
Exactly.
do?
Exactly.
So reactivity is when that dog responds aggressively towards the stimulation.
I wouldn't even say aggressively.
Okay.
They respond at all.
Excited. Oh, okay.
At all. Right.
So you're okay if they kind of trot over to investigate. Would that
I
be
would,
considered reactivity?
that's kind of not really sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't say reactivity. Obviously curiosity,
Curiosity,
but I would prefer them to not even have that.
Right.
Well, one, I wouldn't allow a dog to have that.
Right.
Like I wouldn't let a dog go nose to nose with another dog or invest. I was like, you're not investigating shit.
Right.
It's my dog. I own the animal. That doesn't matter.
Right.
I don't care what that thing's doing or what it has to offer you, But so I used to say COVID was the problem because of this. People no longer went out with their dogs, right? So they sheltered in place.
Right.
The dogs didn't see other dogs, other people. Now,
Didn't
not
get exposed to anything.
exposure, exactly. Now, I'm not saying going to a dog park. Like I go to dog parks all the time, almost daily with like training dogs,
Mhm.
but I go on the outside of them. And I use all of that madness inside and I make dogs heel next to it. They can't, they can look over there, no reaction though.
Okay.
You know, you can't be afraid and try to go away from the dogs. You can't go towards them. They shouldn't think other dogs are a party, right? 'Cause
Exactly.
now you're walking with your dog and they're pulling to another dog.
And you're encouraging that behavior by allowing that to happen.
Right. You're taking it to the dog park. Oh, Nathan, this dog's pulling my arm out of sock. I don't know why he wants to get. Well, you just took it to a dog park,
Right.
or he goes to doggy daycare or whatever. They don't need in the word socialization makes people think there's a social aspect to it, right? Do you see wolves in the wild? Dude, it drives me crazy.
You know I love wolves.
Yeah. And I have like a blog on my website, my training website, torpedoK9.com, that I send to all these owners,
Okay.
About anxiety, what caused it, reactivity, what causes it, humanizing dogs.
Oh, that's the worst.
It is the worst thing you can do to a dog.
That's the worst.
But I've seen that in the last probably 4-ish years, and that's why I'm thinking COVID. But COVID, we're past COVID, right?
But you still have a lot of people that got their dogs during COVID. Could that be part of it?
And think about that pre-2020. Who did you know that worked from home?
Nobody.
Yeah.
I take that back. One person.
Yeah.
I knew one person, but he was a national guy. You know him. We play poker with him every now and then.
So, but pre-2020, okay, one person.
Yeah, one.
I don't know. I didn't know any.
Yeah, that was the only.
Host. Think about the government jobs.
Yeah.
Right. We got federal buildings that are empty.
Empty.
Everyone works at home. Right. And because of that, they stay at home. They coddle the dog. Dogs have anxiety because they can't be left alone anymore.
They treat it like a human.
Yeah, treat it like a pet.
Like it's a family.
And it's like literally, I'm seeing it because I see so many dogs a year now. You're seeing it in the breeding. It's being pushed down generational, even.
You know what?
Why else? Why would reactivity go through the moon? Because I have a good barometer of having tons of dogs coming and going.
Right.
Why would it be a post 2020?
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would depend on the age. So if the dog was born right around 2020, that dog was exposed to that, the reactivity, right? He didn't have the exposure to the stimuli that would cause the reactivity, right? And then when you get out of the lockdowns, right? So you got that 5-year window,
Right.
But if you're getting puppies now,
Yeah.
we're no scientists, but and we're not biologists, but it would not shock me if.
And I don't think, again, I think that was the culprit for those here in 2025. I don't know.
Right.
There's
but you'll have a chance to find out.
Misinformation is a big part of it, right? So I think that it's a strange phenomenon, and I'm not really sure why, because I was going through like contracts, and if I compared them to pre-2020 to after that, it was always pulls on the leash, won't come when called, counter surfs, jumps on guests, won't stay on place, obedience-wise stuff.
Right.
Now every single one, well, he's really good, but, and of course that drives me crazy. Like anytime they say like what a dog likes to do or doesn't like to do, like dogs do what you allow them to do. Right?
Rules, boundaries, limitations.
Now, of course, people think they're doing the right thing because they went out and wanted to socialize their dog.
Right.
So they're coming off this post-COVID apocalypse, and they're thinking, okay, well, I don't want to have a COVID dog. Let's go and take it to the dog park. Right? Or to doggy daycare. Or let's go let it, and it plays other dogs. And then they wonder why it pulls or wants to get to another dog or afraid of another dog because it was attacked. Then they say, hey, let's have random people feed it. And then they wonder why it goes nuts when someone comes in because that's a treat.
A stimulus.
Waiting. That's,
Right. Yeah, that's a potential treat giver.
And then they nonstop talk to it. Like, that is the worst. If people would just stop talking to their dogs, and I say all the time, like, your dog does X, Y, and Z, right? He jumps on somebody or he, doesn't come. Like, what do you do to correct it? Well, I tell him no.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging it, right? So if you're talking, looking, touching, it's encouraging.
Just ignore them.
Corrections in the physical world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel a physical correction, right? There's no e-collar, no choke chain, no prong collar, hasn't been properly trained to understand corrections. then you're encouraging it.
Yes.
Right.
So, like, when I give one of my dogs, a correction, a verbal correction,
Yeah.
generally is enough that they know.
But that's only enough because you've paired
me.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
but you've paired it with a physical correction.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. And in the beginning, it was a little tug on the choke collar.
Right.
I personally, I'm a believer in a choke chain. When Louis, the French bully, was a baby, we had one of those little cinch collars. And when he was a baby, that
like a martingale.
Tell me martingale.
A martingale is essentially imagine
It's a flat collar.
Yep.
With it cinches up. Okay.
Martingale.
Yep. Martingale collar.
Yeah.
And that was enough.
Yeah.
When he was a baby, and I would just give him just a little, paired with a 9.
Yeah.
I use 9.
Yeah.
I don't use no. But that's just habit,
Yeah.
right?
Which is just mimicking a correction from the pack leader, right? Or a mom. That's the same way they would do it. So, as those martingales are great for, I like those for younger dogs.
Right.
I'm not putting the choke chain on like a 3-month-old dog, obviously.
No, they don't need that.
No.
But when I paired that verbal and with the physical, and like our boy Caesar, he likes
Caesar.
I love Caesar. He'll give him a little
Yeah.
and just kind of poke him in the neck area to simulate the mother,
Right.
Given that correction. But as most pet owners, they're not trained. They don't know.
No.
And sadly, they don't take the time to learn and take in and find out what they need, and that's why they come to you.
Well, that's also, it's got me kind of wondering what's the cause of it, though, because that's always the case.
Right.
Why reactivity so much now, unless there's some kind of lifestyle change? Like we're obviously, dogs do what you allow them to do, and they've patterned. If a dog's reactive to anything, a human's patterned that somehow. So why are they patterning that behavior so much now than they were?
I have an idea.
Okay.
It's not politically correct idea.
The pet industry, they play a big role.
Societal. Is what
Yeah.
was immediately going through my mind. So here we are, February of 2025. We all know politically how the environment has changed politically. All right. And, one of the things that the government, I'm not saying yes, no, any way, shape, or form on either side, but DEI type stuff, woke stuff, that's a very strong component of our society.
Yeah.
For a long time, for at least, oh gosh, it was creeping in before I retired.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the woke mind quote thing, I really think that probably was at least a bleed off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the consciousness of the country was starting to go in that direction. And we can get into my conspiracy theories at some point about consciousness.
Let's not.
We're not gonna go there right now. But
well,
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there's something to that as well, because take Germany. Like, I got a buddy of mine who's a K9 handler in Germany.
Okay, is that the same guy that I know?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so in Germany, like, obviously, they were using German shepherds in police work long before America was.
Right. Oh, yeah.
United States, obviously.
Probably before United States became America.
Probably. But they cannot use prong collars or e-collars. They're illegal in Germany. Yeah.
Wow.
Because of the like the Petco stop the shop fucking bullshit, uneducated people that don't understand it. Now, every like board and train client I have, I tell them, when we go over like e-collar stuff, I tell them that I do wish it was regulated like a firearm.
You know what?
And every idiot can't go out and buy one. Because if you don't know how to pair it,
Yes.
you can't just turn it on and use it for corrective measures. The dog doesn't know where it's coming from, how to turn it off, what's going on.
So by pairing it for our fans, you're talking about giving the verbal correction simultaneously, or a physical correction simultaneously with the either the vibrate, the beep, or maybe a small little jolt. Stem.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I'm thinking more of like I find like the lowest level they can barely feel.
Right. Yeah,
and use it for command stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's
yes, pairing it.
It's not for, and I think most people or a lot of people don't understand that an e-collar.
Yeah.
That's not the correction.
Right.
You're getting the dog's attention with that.
Right.
So when you give them a no and they feel a little jolt, and it's just so minute.
Yeah.
That they're just like, whoa,
yeah.
What was that? But they heard no at the same time.
Invisible leash.
Right. It's an invisible leash. It's a way to give a dog a correction. But the goal is to get their attention, right?
Yeah.
To get their attention. And that's all we're looking for.
Yeah. And very rarely do I even use it for corrections. Usually just communication, right? So and I have all kind of silent communicating, like double taps mean come to you, a single hold means come and find you, all this kind of different stuff. But I because they're not regulated, and just like,
oh my god,
it's just like a police shooting.
Yeah,
how many are good a year,
right?
And then how many are the bad? Which ones make the news, right? So, it just takes one to ruin everything.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But doesn't describe why every person coming here has got a dog reactivity.
That, you know what, Nate? So that makes total sense to me. I mean, so you can't buy a gun in Virginia until you've shown that you've gone through a firearm safety class, right?
I don't know.
No, I'm telling you. You can't.
I buy guns all the time.
Yeah,
I guess I had that on file from 30 years ago or something.
Well, I mean, you went to the police academy. That's a firearm safety class.
Is it?
Yes.
I had a bunch of guns before the police department.
Well, you know what? Honestly, back when I was first came on, you didn't have to have a firearm safety.
Are you sure that's still the rule? Because I have walked through a gun show, and there are people, they're throwing guns out left and right.
You know what, Nate?
And these people have a pulse.
I'm wrong.
And an ID. That's about it. And the ID is probably false, and they're still giving them a gun. I don't think that's...
No. You know
what? Might be thinking of a boater's license.
I'm thinking of something.
Maybe to drive a jet ski.
You know what? I apologize, folks. I do apologize. But in order to get a concealed weapons permit or a hunting license, you have to have a firearm safety class.
Yeah, concealed.
Right.
To get a concealed.
To get a concealed weapons permit, you have to have firearm safety class.
Yes.
And to get a hunting permit, you have to prove that you went through a firearm safety.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I apologize. I was wrong.
I was going to say they're handing guns out at the gun show.
Still.
Yeah.
In order to buy an e-collar, it might not be a bad idea to have a e-collar safety certificate on you. Because man,
God, I wish I could.
Man, it breaks my heart when people ruin their dogs.
Right.
And before I retired, people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get an e-collar." I was like, "No, please don't.
Yeah,
please don't." And and they would talk about getting a pinch collar, and I'm like, "Please don't do that, because it's so easy, if you don't know what you're doing, to send that dog into fight or flight
without training." Yeah,
without training, and if you accidentally push that dog into fight for his life because you went too far, or a prong gets stuck in his neck because you did it too hard or it didn't fit right. You with me? Yeah. So I would always tell people not to do that without proper training.
Yeah.
Well,
so let me circle back to my question then. So when we're testing a police candidate,
okay,
right? They're environmentally sound, right?
Okay.
It used to be back in the day, everyone would say, for whatever reason, slick floors. Probably because these dogs grew up outside.
Grew up outside.
They're on concrete
Correct.
their entire lives. They've never been indoors to experience, but they were never, of course, all the ones that we tested for law enforcement, they weren't reactive to random stimulus.
Right. Well, you know what? I have seen it.
I have too, but it's way rarer
It is
compared
rare.
to the private sector.
Right. Well, you know,
And you know,
the exposure.
yeah, exposure and the person doing the exposing, right? So
Well, that's all. That's that's
I mean, you got to think your average canine. They're going to go through a school. I hope.
yeah.
I hope,
Jeez.
and I hope their department's giving them like a full green dog with 12 weeks. I say that, but some are going off to vendors and going to these wonder schools, and they suck, quite frankly. But
It's not their fault.
no, not their fault at all. But on average, they're getting some kind of training.
Yes. Something.
They're at least say, stop talking to your dog. Stop looking at it. Stop
Right.
encouraging bad behavior.
Rewarding bad
No one's doing that to the average Joe who lives on the street
Right.
when they go and buy whatever kind of dog. And they coddle it and give it treats and do all this stuff with it. And then after about a year or 6 months, it drives them crazy. And they come and find training and say, hey, fix this. And I was like, oh, that's easy. I can fix the dog anytime, easily. You're fucked up.
I got to fix you.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Because it's never the dog.
Oh,
But you still have to pattern some behaviors.
it is the dog
Yeah.
because of you.
Right. There you go. There it is.
Those behaviors didn't occur naturally.
They're not born with it. That's why this reactivity, I'm like, man, it just, are people just like every time they see a dog, they're yanking their dog away from it or letting them play with it, or every time the thunder hits, or why is it so bad lately-ish? I don't know.
I think we should call Elon and see if we can get money to do a study.
He's got plenty of it.
Well, and I was the Doge. Let's see if we could get some Doge money, because that would be a legit study that could do America good.
I mean, he from all the money he's saving, throw us $1 million.
That's what I'm saying.
We would spend $999,000 of that on alcohol.
Don't say that, Nate.
About
Elon's probably watching.
20 hours. I can assure you it's not.
Oh my gosh. Well, look, Nate. I think we should start thinking about wrapping this up.
All right,
We're
good
over an
episode
hour.
2. I'm not really sure what we covered, but
We talked about.
I do know I got to go back and edit some things in this little window right here. I've got to put up like a picture of Macho,
And a picture of
Gonzo, some kind of a number. Oh, the email.
in the email.
Email. That's about it. That's going to take like 3 days.
Oh, easy. Yeah, you'll knock that out. I have confidence in it.
Next episode, we got a big guest coming. He's already agreed, right?
He has already
You got him
agreed,
locked
and
in?
I double checked. He's coming.
He's not double booked.
He's not double booked.
We got enough beer.
No. We do not have enough beer for this next guest. The next guest, you guys are going to absolutely adore him. He's got a ton of personality, a ton of energy, a ton of great stories. And one of these old school guys, oh my gosh, his career has been around for
Ever.
probably, I think he did almost 30 years. So super exciting. But we got your dogs in. We got started talking about reactivity.
Yep.
And some of the things that people might want to think about or look into.
Stop encouraging it.
Now, I will say this.
Yep.
Prior to the episode, I
Oh,
actually
you got a laptop over there?
brought the laptop. So I was looking up reactivity.
Oh, what are the odds?
American Kennel Club
Okay.
has a great article about reactivity. And see, the Kennel Club, they're referring to reactivity as aggression, right? To the stimulation.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
To me, it's a reaction because
But it's
I've
just
got a dog. I
reaction.
just sent home yesterday, actually.
But the aggression
Shouldn't
could
say-
be part of the reaction.
I shouldn't say sent home. They just completed their board and train yesterday, right? So to go home. And that dog was afraid of everything. Right. So to some
That's
people,
it was reacting in fear
right.
instead of aggression.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess
Talk to me.
aggression can be a part of it, but maybe just a different substrate of reactivity,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah.
Right. You know,
I'm thinking of, I think the vocabulary, like, I think that the answer is in the term itself.
yeah.
Reaction.
Yes. It's reacting to stimulation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend this American Kennel Club article. And what is reactivity? It says dogs who respond to normal, common occurrences with abnormal and excessive levels of arousal
I can't get over the readers right now.
are often termed reactive. You know,
you look like you're 90 years.
I look like grandpa. So, I mean, I would highly recommend people checking out that article. They're not sponsored. We're not associated.
Sponsored. We don't even like them.
But I just looked it up and saw this article, and I thought it was very interesting.
No, again. I've never looked at, when I brought it up, I didn't look up the definition.
Right.
And
that's why I asked you your definition.
Yeah, my definition is a dog reacting to anything.
Right.
Because I think a sound dog with proper environmentals should not react to anything. Like nothing. Like, remember Gunfire Macho?
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's reactivity. He was you got all these gun shy, gun green, gun sure, all these little terms. Essentially, in layman's terms, is a dog afraid of gunfire?
Right.
Does it draw him towards it? Is he aggressing towards it? Or is he neutral? I want neutral in everything.
Right. We wanted neutral. But if you remember, when we were putting him through school, they wanted him to be gun neutral.
He was gun shy.
But they were actually pushing him. Hey, what? I would more gun green, because they were correcting him, which was causing him to shy away from it initially, right? And that's when you and I one day did some extracurricular activities to pump him up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
to get him out of the gun shyness, we made him gun aggressive momentarily.
And then we dialed
bring
it
back down to gun
neutral.
Green, neutral, whatever you want to call it. But essentially, the dog was, in layman's terms, he was afraid of gunfire.
Initially.
So we made him go towards gunfire.
Which he was okay
through, like, bite work training.
Stimulation,
right? And then later capped him to be neutral to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? It worked very well.
I hate using the term capped. Because I feel like Armin's gonna watch this episode one day,
like, you guys have
and
no
call
idea.
me.
You have no idea.
He's gonna call me up and cuss my ass out because he literally invented the term and wrote the articles on it, like in the '60s or some shit.
Yeah, it is. He's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's it.
I think we did.
I
think it's a
you
great.
got any more on the laptop?
You know what? I'm gonna leave what's on the laptop for right now.
Let's hit our song, Dave.
Hit it.
Let it play us out.
I enjoy this final shot.
Police sirens wail, city streets awake, running from the shadows, dodging every snake. 6-pack of beer, stashed in the parks. Evade the blue lights, moving in the dark. Sirens blaring out my